Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottara Sada Sri Srimati's Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur की जय. प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय. वृंदावन धाम की जय. मधुरा धाम की जय. नवद्वीप मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय. जगन्नाथपुरी क्षेत्र की जय. गंगा माई की जय. यमुना माई की जय. तुलसी देवी की जय. भक्ति देवी की जय. संकीर्तन महायज्ञ की जय. बृहद मृदंगा की जय. समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय. all glories to Sri Sri Guru Gauranga ki jay. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachatya Desatarine. Narayanam Namaskritya Narancheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Srunvadam Swakata Krishna Punyasravana Kirtanaha Hrudayantasto hi Avadhrani Vidunoti Suhrutsata Ashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Patna. So we are going to start with this sloka 11.11.31. Patna patim prosha gruhanupagatam vilokya sanjata mano mahotsavaha utastar bharat sahasasanashayat sakam vratait vridita lochanananaha. Patna patim prosha gruhanupagatam Vilokya Sanjata Mano Mahotsavaha Utastar Sahasasanasayat Sakam Vratait Briditalojanananaha. Patna Patim Prosya Gruhanupagatam Vilokya Sanjata Mano Mahotsavaha Utastar Sahasasanasayat Sakam Vratait Briditalojanananaha. Please recite.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Patniha patim protya grahanupagatam vilokya sanjata mano mahotsavaha uttasthur arata sahasa sanashayat sakam vrater viditalochanan nananaha.
Hare Krishna. Patnyah pratim rosya gruhanupagatam vilokya sanjata mano mahotsavaha utsturarat sahasa sanashayat sakam vrate vriditalocanananaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Patnaya patin prosya gruhanupagatam vilokya sanjata mano महोत्सवा उत्तासुर आरत सहसासनायत साकं व्रतिर्वृदित लोचनाना
Hare Krishna. Patanayah patim poshayah Grihunupagatam Vilokaya Sajajatam Mano Mahotasavaha Uttasturarat Sahasasanashayat Sankam Vrate Vidita Lochanananaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Patanya pati proshya gihanupagatam vilokya sanjati mano mahotsavaha utastur arat sahasana ashayat sakam rater vridita lochanananaha. Hare Krishna.
Patnyai patim proshya krihanupagatam vilokya sanjata mano mahotsava utthasturar sahasa sanashayat sakam ratair vidita lochana nanana.
पत्न्यः पतिं प्रोष्य गृहानुपागतां विलोक्य सञ्जातमनोमहोत्सवाः उत्तस्तुरारात् सहसासनासयात् साकं व्रतैर्व्रीडितलोचनानानः.
Anyone wants to read? Recite. Okay. Synonyms. Patnyaha, the ladies, wives of Lord Sri Krishna. Patim, husband. Proshya, who was away from home. Gruhanupagatam, now returned home. Vilokya, thus seeing. Sanjata, having developed. Mana Maha Utsavaha, a sense of joyful ceremony within the mind. Utastuhu, got up. Arat, from a distance. Sahasa, all of a sudden. Asana, from the seats. Asaya, from the state of meditation. Sakam, along with. Vrataihi, the vow. Vridita, looking coyly. Lochana, eyes. Ananaha, with such faces. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. The queens of Lord Sri Krishna rejoiced within their minds to see their husband home after a long period abroad. The queens got up at once from their seats and meditations. As was socially customary, they covered their faces shyly and looked about coyly. Purport. As mentioned above, the Lord entered his palaces occupied by 16,108 queens. This means that Lord at once expanded himself in as many plenary expansions as there were queens and palaces, and entered in each and every one of them simultaneously and separately. Here is another manifestation of the feature of his internal potency. He can expand himself in as many forms of spiritual identity as he desires, even though he is one without a second. It is confirmed by the Shruti mantra that the Absolute is one alone, and yet he becomes many as soon as he so desires. These manifold expansions of the Supreme Lord are manifested as plenary and separated portions. The separated portions are representations of his energy, and the plenary portions are manifestations of his personality. Thus, the personality of Godhead manifested himself in 16,108 plenary expansions and simultaneously entered into each and every one of the palaces of the queens. This is called Vaibhava, or the transcendental potency of the Lord. And because he can do so, he is also known as Yogeshwara, Ordinarily, a yogi or mystic living being is able to expand himself at utmost to tenfold expansions of his body. But the Lord can do so to the extent of as many thousands or infinitely as he likes. Unbelievers become astonished to learn that Lord Krishna married more than 16,000 queens because they think of Lord Krishna as one of them and measure the potency of the Lord by their own limited potency. One should know, therefore, that the Lord is never on the level of the one should okay. And one should know, therefore, that the Lord is never on the level of the living beings, who are but expansions of his marginal potency. And one should never equalize the potent and the potency, although there is very little difference of quality between the potent and the potency. The queens were also expansions of his internal potency, and thus the potent and potencies are perpetually exchanging transcendental pleasures known as pastimes of the Lord. One should not therefore become astonished to learn that the Lord married so many wives. On the contrary, one should affirm that even if the Lord marries 16,000 million wives, he is not completely manifesting his unlimited and inexhaustible potency. He married only 16,000 wives and entered in each and every one of the different palaces just to impress in the history of the human beings on the surface of the earth that the Lord is never equal to or less than any human being, however powerful he may be. No one, therefore, is either equal to or greater than the Lord. The Lord is always great in all respects. God is great, is eternal truth. Therefore, as soon as the queens saw from a distance their husband who was away from home for long periods due to the battle of Kurukshetra, they all arose from the slumber of meditation and prepared to receive their most beloved. According to Agnavalkya's religious injunctions, a woman whose husband is away from home should not take part in any social functions, should not decorate her body, should not laugh, and should not go to any relative's house in any circumstance. This is the vow of the ladies whose husbands are away from home. At the same time, it is also enjoined that a wife should never present herself before the husband in an unclean state. She must decorate herself with ornaments and good dress and should always be present before the husband in a happy and joyous mood. The queens of Lord Krishna were all in meditation, thinking of the Lord's absence, and were always meditating upon him. The Lord's devotees cannot live for a moment without meditating on the Lord, and to what to speak of the queens, who were all goddesses of fortune incarnated as queens in the pastimes of the Lord at Dwaraka. They can never be separated from the Lord either by presence or by trance. The gopis at Vrindavana could not forget the Lord when the Lord was away in the forest cowherding. When the Lord boy, Krishna, was absent from the village, the gopis at home used to worry about him traversing the rough ground with his soft lotus feet. By thinking thus, they were sometimes overwhelmed in trance and mortified in the heart. Such is the condition of the pure associates of the Lord. They are always in trance, and so the queens also were in trance during the absence of the Lord. Presently, having seen the Lord from a distance, they at once gave up all their engagements, including the walks of women as described above. According to Sri Viswanath Chakravarti Thakura, there was a regular psychological reaction on the occasion. First of all, rising from their seats, although they wanted to see their husband, they were deterred because of feminine shyness. But due to strong ecstasy, they overcame that stage of weakness and became caught up with the idea of embracing the Lord. And this thought factually made them unconscious of their surrounding environment. This prime state of ecstasy annihilated all other formalities and social conventions, and thus they escaped all stumbling blocks on the path of meeting the Lord. And that is the perfect stage of meeting the Lord of the soul, Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshuhu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Gurun Sri Yutapada Kamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sacha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Sacha. Om Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurat Krishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dheena Bandhu Jagatpate Gope Sagopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpataru Bascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining today. So we are going to discuss about this verse 31. So Krishna entering Dwaraka here. So this is the chapter we have been discussing about, and in the previous class we discussed about how Lord Krishna entered all the palaces of the queens, and before that Krishna entered the house of his father, and there his mother Devaki and other mothers, his mother Devaki, they have welcomed him with affection, and they pat him, and so they were exchanging the feelings, transcendental feelings. And then Lord entered the palaces of queens, and in this verse we are going to discuss what are like the feelings of the queens, and how they are exchanging their feelings, the transcendental feelings. And Srila Prabhupada in this purport, he has discussed many things. One is a manifestation of the feature of his internal potency, and also plenary and separated portion of the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada also mentioned how woman should behave as per Shastra when husband away from home, and what are the feelings of queens. Lakshmis are these queens of Dwaraka are Lakshmis. So how they are feeling and how they were affected because of their feminine shyness. So there are various points discussed in this purport. I would try to cover as much as I can. Please forgive me if I speak anything wrong on this verse. If I speak anything in good, that is because of my Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada and Krishna's mercy. Thank you again. So first, Srila Prabhupada here discussing about manifestation of the feature of his internal potency of the Lord. Actually here, Krishna entering palaces of queens. So it doesn't mean that he entered first one palace and then he went to another palace and then he went to another palace. So it is not like that. So actually self-same Krishna, he expanded himself as the same spiritual identity as he desired, and he entered all the palaces. So the self-same Krishna, he entered all the palaces at the same time. Here the number, we know that it is 16,000, but 16,000 means he is limited only to the 16,000 forms. It is not like that. He can expand as many forms as he wants. Trillions, billions, trillions of forms he can expand, unlimited forms. So even though he is one without second. So we know in Brahma Samhita, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. So the Lord has unlimited forms. Even though he expands into unlimited forms, still he is same. He is same Achyuta. So he never decreases or increases. And at the same time, so Lord has, Shruti Mantra says here, Evam Advitiyam Brahma. So the Supreme Brahman is one without second. So even though he manifests into many, many forms, but he is the same Brahman. So, and Dvaita Bhayam Abhayati, and he has Asama Urudha. So he has no equal and no one is above him. So he is, no one can be equal to him. Brahman, and also Brahman cannot be two. Advitiyam Brahma. Even though he manifests into many, many forms, he is the same. He is one without second. So, and Srila Prabhupada and even Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he discusses about this. So it is like a Vaidurya jewel. So there is a Vaidurya jewel. When it touches various other materials, actually it appears to be separated into different colors. And its forms also appear different, but they are not different. Similarly, if Krishna expands, it appears like he is different, but he is never different. He is the self-same Krishna. He is fully potent. So in all the forms, so there is no difference between in his forms. So even in Brahma Vimohana Leela, so we know that Brahma stole all the cowherd boys and cows, and Krishna expanded himself as cowherd boys and calves, exactly like the boys who were of all different features and facials and bodily constructions. He expanded same as like all the boys and cows, same mannerism, same bodily features, same ornaments, cloths. So that is the inconceivable potency of the Lord. He can expand into unlimited millions of forms. Even in 10th canto, Narada wanted to know the opulence of Krishna in Dwaraka. So he wanted to visit all the palaces of queens, because Krishna has 16,108 palaces. And he wanted to see what Krishna is doing, how Krishna is managing all the wives. And so he wanted to check that. And first he goes to Krishna, first he goes to the Rukmini Devi's home, and where Krishna is sitting and Rukmini Devi fanning him, and he gets surprised. And then he goes to another palace where Krishna is playing chess with his wife and Uddhava, and he goes to another house, another queen's house, where Krishna is affectionately like petting his children, and another palace Krishna is taking bath, feeding brahmanas, and another place performing yajnas, and in another place Krishna is riding on horses and elephants. So in Krishna in each palace performing different activity and experiencing different emotions. So, but here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions yogi can expand to 10 forms. So when a living entity, if he gets siddhis with his Ashtanga yoga, he can expand into at most to 10 forms. But it will be still one, because it will be only one consciousness. That means at any given moment he can be feeling one emotion only. But in case of Krishna, he is feeling different emotions with 16,108 vibes. But a yogi, even though if he expands into 10 forms, he cannot experience different emotions. It is like yogi's expansion is like Srila Prabhupada says, it's like a television image manifestation. For example, there is a original television. There is a live going on the television, and that television image is manifested on the various televisions. But all those television images cannot act differently, because there is one original television, that one live is going on, one performance of act is going on, that is being telecasted on all other televisions, and all other television images depending upon this original original live, like that act of performing. But so But in case of Krishna, it is not like that. He expands into n number of forms, but he can experience different emotions. But in case of yogi, the consciousness is going to be one. He cannot have different consciousness. But he may be able to perform, it appears like he is performing different activities, but his consciousness is going to be one. There is one central processing unit, and he would be doing through that consciousness. And so that is why he cannot experience different emotions. In one form he cannot cry, and in one form he cannot laugh, and he cannot experience that kind of different emotions. At any moment he can only experience one emotion. But Krishna is not like that. He can experience different emotions in different forms. And also yogi's limitation is only to the 10 forms, whereas Krishna can expand into unlimited forms, unlimited number of forms, because Krishna does everything through his internal potency. So that is why we can never equate Krishna with the yogis or the living beings. We will discuss further about this in detail. And also in Vedic literature, we know that in Bhagavatam, there is a yogi called Shaubari Muni. He expands himself into 8 forms. But as I said, as Srila Prabhupada said, that expansion was like a television expansion. So he cannot act differently in all the forms. The consciousness is going to be one. So, but in Krishna's case, it is completely separate, independent form, but fully competent. So this is called Vaibhava or transcendental potency of the Lord. So, and because Krishna can do so, he is also known as Yogeshwara. And unbelievers, actually, these materialists, they think that Krishna is one of them and try to measure the potency of Lord by their own limited potency. But Krishna is not like that. Krishna's potency is unlimited. No one can measure his potency. Sometimes Krishna himself cannot measure his own potency. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists in 3 principal forms. One is Swayam Rupa and his original form, and another one is Tadekhatma Rupa, where he manifests in different bodies, are like the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different bodily features, and it appears and also with different emotions in Tadekhatma Rupa, and then Avesa Rupa, where a living entity who is empowered by the Lord with knowledge or strength to perform certain activities. So these are the 3 principal forms of the Lord: Swayam Rupa, Ekatma Rupa, and Avesa Rupa. And even this Swayam Rupa exhibited in 2 more forms, like Swayam Rupa, again same original form, and Swayam Prakasha. So Swayam Prakasha, again in this Swayam Prakasha, Krishna manifests into 2 features. One is Prabhava Prakasha and another is Vaibhava Prakasha. So the Lord has 3 principal forms like Swayam Rupa, Tadekatma Rupa, and Avesha Rupa. And even this Swayam Rupa, it manifests into 2 features. Like one is Swayam Rupa, again Swayam Prakasha, and again this Swayam Prakasha, he manifests into 2 features like Prabhava Prakasha and Vaibhava Prakasha. Prakasha means expansion. So he expands original form into many. That is called Prabhava Prakasha, like Rasa dance with gopis. He manifested into many forms to perform dance with gopis during Rasa Leela. And also he manifested his original form into many when he was marrying 16,108 wives at the same time. So these are all called Prabhava Prakasha forms. So same original form manifests into many. And next one is Vaibhava Prakasha. So Vaibhava Prakasha means there is a difference in its emotional features. So actually the first manifestation of this Vaibhava feature of Krishna is Sri Balaramji. And an example of this Vaibhava Prakasha is the son of Devaki, Vasudeva. So here all the forms that Krishna manifested in this sloka, in this verse, he entered all the palaces at the same time with the different emotional features. They are called Vaibhava Prakasha forms. They are They are nothing but Vaibhava. They are Vaibhava, transcendental potency of the Lord. These are all Vaibhava Prakasha forms. And at the same time, Krishna has various energies. Parasya Shakti Vividhaiva Sruyate. So the Supreme Personality of God, Godhead's energies are variously manifested. So out of these various energies, there are three divisions, primary divisions. One is internal potency, second one is marginal potency, and third one is external potency. So again, this internal potency has three kinds. One is Hladini Shakti, next one is Sandhini Shakti, and third one is Samvid Shakti. Hladini Shakti is at pleasure potency of the Lord, which gives pleasure to the Lord. And Sandhini Shakti is existential potency, like which maintains and manifests all the variegatedness of the spiritual world. And third one is Samvid Shakti. Samvid Shakti is full of knowledge, is knowledge potency. So full of knowledge of everything, everywhere. So these are the three kinds of internal potency of the Lord. And Krishna is the full manifestation of all these energies, like a Hladini Shakti, blissful manifestation, and Sandhini Shakti, existential potency, and third one is the Samvid Shakti, knowledge potency. Here, the queens are the expansions of Lord's Hladini potency, and they are above the three modes. So Krishna has expanded into many forms. Those are called Vaibhava Prakasha forms. And the queens are the expansions of the Lord's Hladini potency, pleasure potency. So here Krishna is in Nirguna, you know, right? Krishna is above all three modes, Sattva, Rajas, Tamo. So Visuddha Tattvam. So, and even these queens of Dwaraka are the manifestation of his Hladini potency, internal potency. So they are also above the three modes. So here the potent and potencies are exchanging the transcendental pleasures. They are known as the pastimes of the Lord. These are not karmas. Like it should never be misunderstood like an exchange of feelings between a husband and wife in this mundane world. These are not mundane affairs. So these are the transcendental. These are perpetually happening. These exchanges are perpetually happening between potent and potency in the spiritual world, and these are called the pastimes of the Lord. So they are always in internal potency. So that is why we should never misunderstood that these are like a mundane affairs. So we should never bring Krishna and his queens or gopis to the level of our own limited thinking. So these are all transcendental. So these are not at all mundane affairs. And also actually living entities are marginal potency of the Lord, Tatastha Shakti. So these living entities are called marginal potency because they can either become spiritual by coming in contact with Krishna, or they can rot in this material world by in contact with this material energy. So, and yeah, that is why living entities are called marginal energy of the Lord, Tatastha Shakti. And we have the third energy of the Lord, that is external potency. This whole material world is manifested with the external potency of the Lord. So here, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, we should know, therefore, that the Lord is never on the level of the living beings. So we should never equate the living being with the Lord. That is what happens in most of the times. Mayavadis, they equate the living beings with the Lord. It is the big offense that they do. When they do like that, and sometimes they do chanting, they never get that taste of that chanting. When we equate the living being with the Lord, and when we do chanting, we never get, we may get some taste, but we never get that transcendental taste. That the Krishna gives that taste only when we start doing, like when we think that we are the Anus and he is the Paramatma, and and we are kind of subordinates to the Lord. So when we think like that, then we start feeling that ecstasy when we do the chanting. So that is why we should never equalize the living beings with the Lord. So the living beings are but expansions of the marginal potency. So and living beings are the expansions of the marginal potency of the Lord, and his personal forms, whatever Krishna is exhibiting there, they are all called, they are all his personal plenary expansions. They are same original personality of Godhead manifesting in different forms. But whereas in the case of living entities, we are but the manifestations of his energy. So that is why living entities we are qualitatively same but not quantitatively. Let us take an example. Srila Prabhupada quotes many times. If you take the spark in the fire, so it has the same qualities like heat and light, same as fire. Qualities is the same, but for the quantity that is present in the spark, like heat and light, is not equal to that of fire. So quantity wise, it is never equal to that of fire. Similarly, so the living entities are qualitatively same with the Lord, but not quantitatively. Actually, we were discussing in previous classes also. So Lord is a Vibhu, he is unlimited, and living entities are Anus. So we are minute. And Lord is Bhoktara Magnatavasam. So he is the enjoyer, and living entities are Bhuktis. Living entities are enjoyed. And actually, Lord is the maintainer, and living entities are maintained. Lord is the sustainer, and living entities are sustained. And living entities are called minute Purushas, but Lord is Parama Purusha. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. And also living entities are called Brahman, but Lord is supreme Brahman. So we should never misunderstood this concept. And the Lord is always great in all respects. So he is a Parama Purusha and Satyam Param Dhimahi. So he is the absolute, supreme absolute truth, and he is supreme Brahman. And we should never equal our Lord with the living entities or with the demigods. That is what Srila Prabhupada discusses about in this purport. And Srila Prabhupada discusses the Stri Dharma in the same verse. So as soon as all queens, Lakshmis, they saw Krishna, they arose from slumber of meditation. So Udastu Ara Sahasa Ashana Ashayat. So they immediately got up from their meditation, and they felt actually rejoice within their mind, Mana Mahotsavaha. So they were exchanging the transcendental feelings. As we discussed, these are not the mundane feelings. These are not the mundane feelings. These are the transcendental feelings exchanged between potency and potent and potency. So we should never misunderstood that these are the feelings between the husband and wife in that material world. And here, then what they have got up from their places, and Vratair Vridita Lochananaha. So actually they are doing some Vrata here, some vows. They are following some vows because Krishna is away from the home, and they wanted to follow some vows. So actually here Srila Prabhupada discusses like as per Agnavalkya Smriti. So a woman whose husband is away from home should not take part in any social functions, and should not decorate her body, and should not go to any relative's house in any circumstance. So actually they are following those vows. Vratai Vridita Lochanana. They are following those vratas. So they were all in meditation, thinking of the Lord's absence, and were always meditating upon him. So they were always in trance. That is called where they only think about Krishna, not anything else. That state is called samadhi. So they are in that kind of state, trance. The same kind of trance, like gopis in Vrindavana, like even when Krishna goes to the pasture grounds, So they always used to think, they always think about Krishna, how Krishna is walking on those rough grounds with his soft lotus feet. So they are that kind of thinking of Krishna, and that kind of trance is called samadhi. So, and by seeing Lord from the distance, these queens at once they gave up all their engagements, and including their vows. They are following these vows, and they went to Krishna. And here in the next in the last part of this verse, it is mentioned, Vridita Lochananaha. They covered their faces shyly and looked about coyly. Actually, this is one of the important thing. Actually, Srila Prabhupada mentions in another purport somewhere in the Bhagavatam. So, woman is accepted as power of men. She is accepted. She can be a great inspiration for men. But such powerful woman is controlled by shyness. Actually, this shyness is like an ornament to the woman. So once this shyness is loosened, actually women can create havoc in the society by adultery. So this is like a general woman, not about Vaishnavis. So we have the wonderful Vaishnavis in our society. But so this shyness is the ornament for a woman. So in Vedic literature, this shyness is very much appreciated in the view of chastity. So actually, women can conquer men by shyness. In Vedic society, we see more rules and regulations. Actually, the more there are rules, the more there will be a bondage between wife and husband. But in modern society, we see there are less regulations. So actually, that would create havoc in the society. We are seeing all those consequences nowadays. So there are less rules. It creates adultery in society, and it may lead to that unwanted population in the society. So this shyness of the woman is very much appreciated in Vedic literature. So, and they have covered their faces here, the queens, they have covered their faces shyly and looked about coyly. And actually, with this shyness, they conquered the Lord. The queens of Dwaraka, they conquered the Lord with the love. So with their love, they conquered the Lord. And so Prabhupada ends this purport saying that is the perfect stage of meeting the Lord of the soul, Sri Krishna. So Krishna is the Lord of the soul. So we are all souls, but the soul of the soul is Krishna. It is like when we apply for a credit card, we get a credit card and they say you have to activate. Unless you activate, you cannot use it. Our souls are like that credit cards without activation. So once we activate, we can use the credit card. Similarly, unless Krishna activates us, we cannot work. That is why he is the soul of the soul. Otherwise, we are all lying in the dormant position in the body of Karanodak Sai Vishnu. So unless Lord activates us, we cannot work. So Lord is giving all the energy to us. That is why he is the soul of soul. When we start seeing this soul of the soul, this Paramatma in all the living beings, when we see everything in connection with the Krishna, so we start loving everyone. That is called love of Godhead. So when we start love Krishna, and when we see Krishna in everyone's heart, and when we see everything in connection with Krishna, we love everyone. Actually, that is the goal of this Krishna consciousness, the love of Godhead. So, and with this, I would end here. And please forgive me if I spoke anything wrong. And I have to, and today we would discuss about our reflections, questions, and comments later. And today there is ISKCON Incorporation Day. So Srila Prabhupada incorporated ISKCON on July 21st, 1966 in New York. And I would want to also share some points on that about that ISKCON Incorporation Day. Mataji, I would like to share one presentation quickly here. can you please give me that screen sharing? Yeah, thank you. So we are so much indebted to Srila Prabhupada because he established this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and he built a house in which the whole world can live. We are all taking shelter under this the gigantic tree ISKCON. So I always feel, oh Srila Prabhupada, where would we be without you? Okay, I'll try to cover some points as much as I can, whatever I have gathered. So on 1st September 1896, about 3:55 p.m., there appeared Abhay Charan Day at Toliganj at Kolkata. Under this, he appeared, Srila Prabhupada appeared under this jackfruit tree, which is still maintained by ISKCON. And it is the day after Janmashtami. He appeared on 1896, 1st September. And Srila Prabhupada in 1992, he met his spiritual master first time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. And in the first meeting, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakura told Srila Prabhupada, so you have to preach this Bhagavata Dharma to the Western world. And in 1933, Srila Prabhupada took a formal initiation from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, accepting him as spiritual master. So during that initiation, he was awarded the name Abhaya Charanaravinda. So Aravinda has been added to his name. His name became Abhaya Charanaravinda. And he was given Harinam and Brahmanical initiation on the same day. And in 1935, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told Srila Prabhupada to print as many books as possible and try to distribute them throughout the world. And by taking that suggestion seriously, Srila Prabhupada began publishing his Back to Godhead magazine from 1944. So Srila Prabhupada wrote them himself and had them printed, and even rode into the town on the bus to distribute these one-page sheets Back to Godhead, and it is still maintained by his devotees, Srila Prabhupada devotees, Back to Godhead magazine. And in 1953, Srila Prabhupada started his League of Devotees. So a small organization, like kind of a Krishna consciousness people. So it was kind of like a forerunner of what was to be the today's International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So this is the seed for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, this League of Devotees. It was established in 1953. So Srila Prabhupada wrote many letters on this, and I could find and where devotees had to chant 16 rounds, all this kind of whatever has been established in ISKCON, they were already there in this League of Devotees. And in 1959, Srila Prabhupada, even before that, before accepting the renounced order, so Srila Prabhupada also wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So by seeing the Srila Prabhupada's philosophical learning commentary on Bhagavad Gita and this Back to Godhead magazines, by seeing his devotion, the Gaudiya Vaishnava Society honored him in 1947 with the title Bhakti Vedanta. That is why he has become Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. So Bhakti Vedanta means who has realized that devotional service to the Lord, the Supreme Lord, is the end of all his knowledge. So, and in 1950, at the age of 54, actually Srila Prabhupada completely retired from his married life. And 4 years later, he adopted the Vanaprastha, retired life. And in 1959, Srila Prabhupada accepted the renounced order at Madura in Gaudiya Math Keshava temple. To execute his spiritual master, to execute the order of his spiritual master by preaching and writing in the English language. And 1965, actually, he has after taking the renunciation, he started writing the commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam by 1965. he could complete the first commentary for the first 3 volumes of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That is what we are reading now for the first canto. So at Radha Damodara temple in Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada began this work, and he completed the commentary of the first 3 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he could raise some funds and he published them. And so then that he was keep on thinking about how to come to Western world, how to go to Western world, how to preach, because he was keep on meditating on his instruction of his spiritual master. He was keep on meditating it. He never left it. So he was keep on meditating. Then he decided, okay, then he firmly decided to travel to America. And at the age of 69, so at the age of 69, so he made so many efforts. Finally, he could get the complimentary ticket with the food in Jaladuta cargo carrier, which was starting from Kolkata and which was coming to New York. So he got one ticket there, and he started his journey in the Jaladuta under the command of Captain Arun Pandya on August 13, 1965. He started his journey on August 13, 1965. And so he had, by August 23rd, the ship had put into the Red Sea, and Srila Prabhupada suffered a seasickness, dizziness, and he was feeling pain in his chest, and he was thinking that he would die at any moment. So he suffered 2 heart attacks. So he was feeling if there was another kind of heart attack, he felt like he would die. So. And when he was feeling this painful suffering, so on the night he got a dream, and where Krishna said that he should not fear but should come along. So he got an inspiration from that dream, and then he continued his journey. And after 35-day journey from Kolkata, and the Jaladuta reached Boston's Commonwealth Dock at on September 17, 1965. So to stop there before proceeding to New York City. And here Srila Prabhupada was like this Captain Arun Pandya took Srila Prabhupada to this Boston's commercial area. So they walked across that Boston commercial area. And after seeing this America, so after the US, so Srila Prabhupada felt like, I don't know why you have, he was telling to Krishna, I don't know why you have brought me here, but I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? Those were the feelings of the Srila Prabhupada when he saw the Boston's commercial area. And then the ship went to Jaladuta, sailed to New York Harbor, and then he visited the places in New York, and he never uncompromised on his appearance. He never diluted the philosophy. He never uncompromised on the he uncompromised on his appearance as well. So he was wearing kantimala and cotton dhoti, and he was carrying japamala, and so his head was shaven, and he had a shika. So it was kind of this kind of appearance was not there, because he was the first Vaishnava sannyasi to arrive in New York. So with uncompromised appearance. And then after leaving, and then Srila Prabhupada moved to his friend's son's place in Butler in Pennsylvania, and he stayed for a while, and then he came back to Mishra's place in New York. And so Srila Prabhupada had he challenged Mishra on the Mayavadi philosophy. Even though he challenged, we have to learn from Srila Prabhupada. He said that in his book that I was nice to him and he was nice to me. So actually they were challenging on the Siddhanta, not on the personal understandings. So when it comes to the personal things, like as a Vaishnava, we feel like we are the most fallen. So we give all the respect to others. But when it comes to the Siddhanta, when it comes to the philosophy, we are never compromised. So that is what we have to learn from Srila Prabhupada, that we should never compromise on the philosophy as Siddhanta when it comes to the Siddhanta. But when it comes to the personal things, we think we are the most fallen, we give all respect to others. And then Srila Prabhupada moved to the Bowery. There is a place, a bad neighborhood in New York, and there these Bowery bums, they used to sleep or unconsciousness at his door, and he would have to step over them. So slowly Srila Prabhupada started giving daily lectures on the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and a few young men started attending those classes. And he would also sometimes teach cooking, and usually like personal talks and all those things were happening. And finally, Srila Prabhupada moved into a storefront called Matchless Gifts on 2nd Avenue, and slowly began lectures on Bhagavad Gita on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays between 7 to 9 p.m. And many youngsters joined that program, and they also started spreading the Krishna consciousness. And in 1966, July 21st, 1966, Prabhupada officially founded this International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So actually, during that time, some devotees argued for using, instead of Krishna, they suggested to use God consciousness. But Srila Prabhupada said only that God has a name, Krishna, so why not use it? So Srila Prabhupada named the society International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And so actually these are based on the two basic principles, like there are many principles, but basic principles like simple living, high thinking. And so the goal is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. Smartavyaha Salto Vishnu Vismartavyaha Najat. We should, that is the goal, to always remember Krishna and never forget him. And then, so when getting the legal work done, Srila Prabhupada outlined the 7 purposes of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Like I would briefly read: to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large, and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. And second one is to propagate consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the great scriptures of India, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Third, to bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna. I would go on to encourage the Sankirtana movement, congregational chanting of the holy name of God, as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And fifth one, to erect the members and society at large a holy place of transcendental pastime dedicated to the personality of Krishna. And sixth, to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler, more natural way of life. And 7, with a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. These are the main principles of Krishna consciousness when Srila Prabhupada founded this ISKCON. And we know rest is all history. And today we have more than 550 plus temples across the world, and ISKCON has 60 plus rural communities, 55 plus restaurants, and more than 10,000 temple devotees. So much is going and happening. So I would stop here. Sorry, I have taken more time. I wanted to glorify Srila Prabhupada. So please forgive me if I spoke anything wrong. Hare Krishna, please let me know for any comments, questions, and reflections.
Very nice class, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Very informative. Lot of information you gave us. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
There are no questions for that. And I don't have any, because a lot of information which we all need to know. So that's very good. Thank you very much for a nice class.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
And like Mataji said, very nice class, lots of information. One thing I was wondering if you could just repeat again you were talking about the Swayam Prakasha and the different classifications, I think. Can you just repeat that one more time? You started with Krishna. The first one is Swayam Vaibhava, that is Balaram. No.
First, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, Swayam Rupa. He is always in Vrindavan. Krishna is cohort by. And that Swayam Rupa has two different manifestations. Anyway, Swayam Rupa has a manifestation as Swayam Prakasha. That Swayam Prakasha has two different features. One is Prabhava Prakasha and another one is Vaibhava Prakasha. Prabhava Prakasha forms like Krishna's like unlimited forms in the rasa dance, and Vaibhava Prakasha, the forms like with different emotional features. Those we discussed today. And also in the principle, there are three principal classifications like forms of Krishna. One is Swayam Rupa has these forms: Swayam Rupa, Swayam Prakasha, Prabhava Prakasha, Vaibhava Prakasha. And another form is Swayam Rupa and Tadekatma Rupa. Tadekatma Rupa, where Krishna has different bodily features and different transcendental emotional features. So that is, and then he has another principal form like Avesha Rupa, where he empowers the living entity with this knowledge and strength and to perform certain activities like Narada Muni, like Sanat Kumaras, even all these Parasuram. So all these are Avesha forms. And Tadekatma Rupa, again we have the Balaram, and again from Lord Balaram. So Tadekatma Rupa has two forms again, Swamsa and Vilasa forms. Vilasa is like pastime expansions. Again, pastime expansions has two forms. One is Prabhava Vilasa in Goloka. All the first Chaturvyuha from Lord Balaram, Vasudeva, Sankrishna, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. And again, in Vaibhava Vilasa, again in Goloka, like all Lord Narayana and all innumerable Narayana forms in the Vaikuntha, they are called Vaibhava Vilasa. And again, Swamsa is personal expansions, like all these are Karanodak Sai Vishnu, Garbhodak Sai Vishnu. All these are like Swamsa expansions of Krishna. So we can remember like this, Krishna has three principal forms. One is Swayam Rupa, and another one is Tadekatma Rupa, and third one is Avesha Rupa. Again, this Swayam Rupa has Swayam Prakasha, Prabhava Prakasha, Vaibhava Prakasha. And this Tadekatma Rupa has Swamsa and Vilasa forms. And Avesha is like where a living entity is empowered with the knowledge and strength.
Yeah, I noted down, I think, up to a point. I still will have to
lot of things
come back to you with but thank you very much, Prabhu. And Drona Prabhu said in the chat, thank you also for, I think it is it is never too much to appreciate Srila Prabhupada. And that question that you asked, where would we be without Srila Prabhupada and all that he has done? Where would we be? It would be a very dark place. So showing gratitude to him, acknowledging what we have from him. We are doing it once a year on this day, but I think it's something we need to do every day. Just consciously thank him for what he has given us, the clarifications, the understanding, the background information. He just doesn't say it, this is what it is. He says, this is why it is. So yeah, go ahead, Kalpesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, extremely wonderful class. I mean, so much to gain. Particularly your presentation was so neat and good. Thank you for that. I have a question, because I'm trying to spread the message of ISKCON to many other people in my connections. But when we try to spread it, there are questions being asked. So one of the question, which was like a burning question, kind of, which is probably happening maybe worldwide, but let's focus on the India for now. There are a lot of right now in this point, there is a lot of conversion happening. The people from so we call it ourselves as a Hindu, but the essence is we are Sanatani Dharma. So from that Sanatan Dharma, there are people who are forced to convert into Islamism, and there are particular region, particularly in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, if you see, there are high proportions of those conversion. So I'm not able to really defend it, because when I try to say the education is the way we have to cultivate for knowing why you are practicing what you are practicing, what would be the real-time solution, looking at that with this speed of conversion, and slowly this Sanatan Dharma is declining across the board, whether we talk about the cow killing, we talk about the religious principles, and so many other aspects. I cannot keep on telling on this call. Non-vegetarian, intoxication, drugs spread out, like particularly Urta Punjab area, and then they are trying to weaken the armies, weaken the youth, so nobody can join the armies. So many problems, so many things, and this is due to the Sanatan Dharma. What is the take of ISKCON on that? And secondly, your last slide you showed on the presentation, there was 550 plus temples. I thought it is 1,000 temple from other source of ISKCON devotee.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Sure. So what is the take? Maybe I would give my understanding there from Srila Prabhupada's teachings. And this especially, yes, I also had this kind of view and thinking. So this is the Kali Yuga. We are in this Kali Yuga. This Kalo Doshanide Rajan. Sukadeva Goswami says in Bhagavatam, Kalo Doshanide. This Kali Yuga is the ocean of faults. Ocean of faults. Eko asti eko mahagunan. So there is one good quality in this Kali Yuga. Kirtana Deva Krishnasya. Just chanting the holy name. Mukta Sangasya Param Mukta Sangha Param Vrajet. So you will reach the ultimate destination. So this Kali Yuga is the ocean of faults. Definitely all these things would happen because this Dharma would decrease day by day in this Kali Yuga. So those things are definitely happening because the Bharata Khanda is the center of this Dharma. So actually that happens first at Bharata Khanda only. So Bharat in India. And so actually definitely that is declining. Only thing instead of confronting them, so what we can do is we can just even Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this movement is to preach the holy name of the Lord. Hare Nameva Kevalam Kalo Nasti Eva Gatiranyan. So there is no other means than chanting the holy name for the self-realization in this Kali Yuga. So what we can do is we can keep propagating this Harinam Sankirtan. So because everyone has the dormant love for Krishna, when they start chanting Krishna's holy name, so they would definitely realize that the strength of the holy name, and actually that is what brings the peace in this world. This is the Prabhupada as one of the principles to establishing this ISKCON. So that creates the peace in the world. So many places, Srila Prabhupada said, like, now we have lost the brain. Actually, the society is divided into 4 categories as per Varnashrama Dharma, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. Now the Brahmanas, especially, they literally, they're not following the strict rules and regulations. And because the Brahmanas are not strong, and the other, they are not able to give any, there are no good people to give suggestions to the lower classes of society. That is why this ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada said many times, like, we are producing we want to cultivate that Brahmanism. So we'll produce the Brahmins so that they can, Vaishnavas, so that they can direct the society. So the only thing is keep preaching whatever best we can do. But the only thing that when we do preaching, so unless, for example, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there was a king, I think, and in Bengal, during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. So actually they usually the Muslims, they sprinkle water and they say you are converted to Islam. So they did something like that to one king, Hussein Shah. He did to his servant and said, you are actually that another person was was a very rich person, and first Hussein Shah used to be his servant, and later he became a king, and he does this to this rich man, and then he goes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, don't do anything else. Go to Vrindavan and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is what we can give to this whole world. Because once, whether they are Islam, Christian, anything, any sect, any religion, once they start chanting, they can get that taste, and following the 4 regulative principles, definitely they can change their lives. Only thing is preaching, Prabhuji. That's what I feel, my understanding from the like teachings of Srila Prabhupada and this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu movement. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for explanation.
Hare Krishna. And if anyone wants to add to this, please feel free to add.
I guess that is it. That was a good explanation. I know sometimes it is hard, sometimes it feels discouraging, but like you said, I think what we can and should do is just keep at it. The time also has to be right for them. And the other thing that I feel is to lead by example. Stay, sometimes when difficulties come and people say, oh, why is this happening to me? Try and not get to that, so that we show by example that we accept his supremacy, Krishna's supremacy, and things happen. Sometimes they're beyond our understanding, but don't give up, don't give in.
Yeah.
So if there are no more questions, we can meet again tomorrow morning. But before that, 6:40 this evening, we will have shloka recitation, and we will continue our reading of I'll Build You a Temple by His Holiness Giriraj Swami. So we'll meet at 6:40, same Zoom channel, and then tomorrow morning we'll continue on with this chapter with the Bhagavatam class. Thank you again, Prabhu.
Once again, thank you very much, Prabhu. Very nice class. Nice explanation you gave.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Pancha kalpatarubhyascha
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.